it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can.
Here you are watching Cool Conversations on the Miss Hennessy TV YouTube channel. Welcome to another amazing conversation today. This lady needs no introduction, but I will definitely give her flowers because she's done a lot, and she's done a lot across a grave many industries for many, many years, always helping to build and grow and cultivate. We obviously met way back in the day, DJ, promoter for herself. Very, very grateful to have worked with her incredible company, Funk Inc., as a DJ, providing sounds and vibes to Sydney siders everywhere. She has gone through many transformations, as most of us women do, always finding our purpose or redefining our purpose. And she's arrived at a spot that she's incredibly excited to share. And I'm very excited for her in this space. The lovely Missy Kay, talking about her marvelous new venture, Inspired Consulting. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hola, thank you. Thank you as always,
You're
honestly. Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. You're radiating happiness and this glow and just this real peace and contentment. And, for a lot of people, especially online, that's the dream that's sold to a lot of women is you can look like this if you do this, right? And a lot of the time people don't
Yeah,
realize that that feeling comes from levels of pain and a lot of self-work, a lot of discovery, and just digging through the dirt of who we are to get to where we need to be. And that's your testimony. That's your story. I've known you a long time to know that you are somebody who has worn her heart on a sleeve for many years, but you've never shied from the truth of what those painful moments have been. So it doesn't surprise me that you are a well-being coach at this particular stage in your life, but not a Facebook or Instagram purchased one. Inspired Consulting is a lot deeper than that, and the glow comes from so many things. So can you please tell the viewers where the glow comes from and what Inspired Consulting is all about?
it actually comes from primer and highlighter.
Ah, she sold out to the beauty thing. I was trying to be like, let's go. It looks good, girl.
I'm joking. I don't have anything on. I was just
I almost
teasing.
thought you were going to say, well, I put some sweet potato yams on my face last night, and this is why I have the glow.
Listen, I honestly, if you want to take it there, I am that crazy human that uses tomatoes and sugar and chia seeds and flax seeds and turmeric when I make my golden goddess juice. I take the pulp that I'm going to throw away and I just shove it all over my face and it works. It works a lot better than any other product that's out there, I promise you.
I love it. I love it. Well, apart from your face looking amazing and the glow and that beautiful smile of yours as always, Inspired Consulting is something that is it's just so you right now. I have no idea what it is that you do, but I again knowing that uh, I've worked with you in so many other levels, it just seems like the natural elevation for you. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. It just made sense. And it made sense the more aligned I became. And so that's the interesting part about my journey, right? So we met each other through Funk Inc. I'm actually known as a promoter, but I was an agency. I was an entertainment agency. I specialized in DJs. I had over 45 DJs that I managed within Sydney and Melbourne and across Australia. I started creating bridges between Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia, Dubai, and there's two ultimate goals that I started with Funk Inc., which was to eliminate the exploitation of art and artistry, and put the control and back into the hands of the artists themselves. That was the main driver, and the one of the biggest goals that drove that was being able to create a pension, so a superannuation for DJs. so that when they finished their careers, that they would end with a superannuation, that it wouldn't go to the wayside. It was recognized, it was acknowledged. And that was what I was working towards that a
Yeah.
lot of people didn't know about.
I remember
So
you
that's
sent me that, and I thought, wow, that was so it was so forward thinking at the time, because a lot of people don't realize that as musicians or performers, DJs we don't get money put into anything special. It's usually just your check at the end of the night, or if you're a resident, you get your payment every week after your gig, and that's it. And so when things like COVID happened, we were the first ones out. Like, the entertainment music industry was shot them immediately, because everybody lost gigs, they lost livelihood, they lost so much. But yet when everything came back up again and online, we're always the first ones that are required or requested to bring back peace and joy and well-being. But yet when things happen, ours is not really taken care of. So for you to have had the foresight back then to have looked at that, massive thank you to you for even putting up the good fight.
It was actually inspired by DJ Blaze, New York DJ, who was a Macy's DJ. And because of him being a Macy's DJ, he was literally going to be the first person. So this was back in the early 2000s. And yeah, he was like the only DJ that was actually getting um, a pension. And so when I ended up speaking to him and finding that out, then I spoke with my financial advisors and I was like, what do we need to do in order to get here? And it's really interesting. Like, cash flow management is such an important aspect in life, you know, because as an artist, you have to actually do more and invest more time in understanding your cash flow management in order to reap the benefits, and also set aside and have your little fire account and all those kind of different accounts to support yourself. And we within the industry are not told that or taught that. And that's where, Funk Inc. as an agency, that's where my priority was. I went and studied. I studied at the Australian Institute of Music. I was the first round to do a diploma, a bachelor actually, in entertainment management. I also studied at JMC, and one of the it was entertainment management and finance.
Wow.
And so that is not translated when
Yeah.
you then start working with artists. And it was always such a shit fight because I actually started off as an artist manager. That was my passion, that was my driver. And all of my capital went within 6 months just funding an artist that was just so fixated on getting fucked up and drinking and smoking and wasting um, recording time and wasting resources
Yeah, yeah.
and not understanding where those resources came from.
Oh,
It came
it's
from networking, it came from
so,
hustling, it came from me and my money.
yeah, it's so criminal. People just don't get, it's not just about, like, lights, name up in lights, man. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. And it's until we get and, sit down and have these conversations, or when we pivot career paths and end up doing something totally different, the memoirs of, the time that we were in the entertainment industry, partly for me, I'm still in it, but not as much as I used to be. My pivot has been writing and teaching and all kinds of things. But as a DJ, it's a dog eat dog world, and people don't realize it's not just about, you know, playing music and making people dance. It's such a bigger picture. So thank you for sharing that, because I don't think a lot of
It's
people.
massive.
Mm,
No, and that was one of the things that I had like a plan. And my plan, my framework that I had for Funk Inc. and registering artists was you had to have an element of psychology. So I actually wanted to work closely with a psychologist that my artists could go to understand that once you pivot and you move into that fame aspect, you don't ever want to lose yourself. You don't want to ever lose yourself as an artist. You don't want to ever lose yourself as a person. Like, because there are no matter how public perceive you, there is a separation. There's a separation of who you are and who you identify as, and who you are as an artist, and what that translates into. And I'm saying all of this to explain that through this process and this journey, I had the hindsight, I had the foresight to see all these different things and to implement it at such a young age. I started funking when I was 17. So these conversations that I'm sharing with you, or these frameworks that I developed, and these business models that I was trying to create for Funk Inc. was my early 20s
Mm.
that I was thinking about these things. We didn't have an industry that was supportive. There was no foundation for it. And that's why I became a promoter. It wasn't intentional. I didn't want to be a promoter. I just naturally fit in that place. But I also was not getting the recognition from the people that were already doing it to get my DJs on rosters. And so, in order to get good quality DJs out there, I needed to create events. And that was the only reason why I did what I did. Then I would hustle and work with promoters and say, look, if I promote for you, I'm going to get like this kind of exposure, but you have to put my DJs on, and you have to put them on the roster, and you have to do this, because it was essentially, I had such an international network. And when I said, hey, get my DJs out there, they were like, yeah, cool. But who the fuck are they?
Mm.
What have they done in your city? And I was like, oh man, do you not know about Australia? You need to be out there in order to get recognized out here, like it locally. Unfortunately, that's how the industry still
I know,
works today.
I know, and I put my head down because we shouldn't still be having stories about what's going on now. But now we have stories about this stuff still going on, and we're the ages we are. So the kids that are coming up now behind us that kind of know that the industry, how it was started and who were the people behind it, they're going to be having these conversations in a few years' time with us going, and it happened when you started. Like it's just, yeah, it's almost like history repeating itself a little bit,
It
and
is.
our industry and our community, I like to, sort of tout it as, has been through a lot. And for Sydney, especially to have to now reframe itself with the nightlife um demolition we had a few years ago, to
Yeah, that's a
this
perfect way to explain it.
re-exposure and this rebranding of this incredible nightlife hive, with the foundations are still the same. And
Yeah,
if it's not, if that's not right, then this will happen again. And that's my concern,
correct.
you know. That's
And that's what, it's really interesting, because everybody, they hear my passion when I talk about punking, and they ask, why can't you come back? I'm having conversations with 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 30-year-olds, like all different genres sorry, generations. And they're like, come back, we need you, the industry needs you, you need to do all these things. Conversations with the fabulous Tiana Canterbury. And oh my gosh, she was even like, Missy, these kids out here, they need you, because they just don't have our type of work ethic, our motivation behind us, but they have the smarts, but they don't have the street smarts. You need to come back into it and revive it all. And I did look into it. I did market research just to understand, but I'm going to be doing it all over again, where I'm going to have to create every pavement, every step, in order for me to gain traction. And without capital behind me, it's just too impossible while being a mum.
absolutely.
It's just,
I know.
and then we talk about foundation,
Yeah.
right? We talk about foundation, and the core of it, and the patterns that continue to happen because we're actually not delving into the core, trying to fix that. We're just band-aiding the whole situation. And that's segue inspired consulting.
Thank you. So, what a marvelous segue. What a wonderful, long-winded, flowered intro to this amazing new venture of yours. Actually, no, it wasn't long-winded. It was
Yeah,
necessary because we have to talk about the before in order to talk about the now. So, because then the
yeah,
before might become again, which I'm sure with you and
Exactly.
any hats that you wear, you will probably find a way to answer that need. But I think this is where you're needed right now. So tell me, Inspired Consulting, what gap is this filling in? Would you say that the coaching market is quite saturated right now?
Yes. Yes. So much so that it intimidated me to relaunch. And I say relaunch because I actually started Inspired Consulting in 2018. Because when our industry, the demolition of our industry, I love the way that you put it. When that happened, I was so devastated. My business had to dissolve. I had so much just working for it and so much passion and drive behind it, and I didn't know how to take these transferable skills. And then I ended up getting into corporate, going through all the toxicity within that realm after leaving, getting out of the entertainment industry and getting to a point where I was actually supported by men because they saw how great I was, that they started to say, okay, let's rally behind her and support her. And how we're going to do this. So it was really interesting. So a lot of key people in the industry that were like, I would say, like big name people, like Keystone was a massive company that owned like the Basement, Cargo Bar, that whole
Yes.
King Street Walk section. They're out of the game. They sold up shop. They just walked away from it because they were like, there's no out. And when big people that have been in the industry for that long
Can
walk
see.
away, you have to know it was a smart move, right? So anyway, I ended up getting into Inspired Consulting and working with business owners because I realized that at that stage, entrepreneurship was something that was being taught in um, colleges,
Yes.
and I actually laughed because
Yes.
thought I thought it was hilarious. I was like, "What do you mean entrepreneurship? Like, how do you teach that?
Yep.
How do
They
you
had like
teach hustle
little
mentality?"
They almost had little mini courses that Sydney Uni used to run. Um, I went to one just to kind of chat. It was about like book launching, like to be able to write your own book and stuff. And funnily enough, that's how I actually got my first book that I wrote, How to Live for Love and Hip Hop. I was partnered up with a self-publisher at the time. And that's how that conversation happened. But it was in one of those classes, and I even sat there going, it's not something that's inbuilt, though. Is it not an ingrained driver, like entrepreneurialism, right? And
Yeah,
but it was basically just, people that had had grand success at starting their little businesses, and they should have used it. They should have called them more workshops as opposed to courses, because it was just
yeah,
talk. It was like a
exactly.
TED talk. Yeah, I remembered those.
Yeah, and so that's why for me, I was like, okay, hang on a second. So then I was working with people, and I'm very strategy minded. So as you know, that's the strategy mindset is really my driver. And so for me, I noticed the gap then, which was you've got people with big ideas, and you've got people that are driven by fame and success and notoriety, but then don't know how to bridge
Right.
what they want and
Yes.
want to achieve. And so then I kind of started saying, well, let's do the basics. So I worked with women in small businesses and helped them just understand the basics of how to register a business, how to register a name, how to create a business plan, how to do market research, do all those things. People have no idea. They go, this is a great idea. They don't do any piloting. They just go, this is a great idea, and then question why it failed. But instead of analyzing why it failed and then restarting, they'll just start something else new, have another idea. So again, we go back to core. And so where we are today is a relaunch. And it's a relaunch. Initially, I was again going to work with women in businesses that are burnt out, that are really struggling. And then I was led by God in a very beautifully spiritual way. And it was just that connection that everybody is disconnected in the most connected time we've ever been in our lives. And I say that because we are so easily accessible to everything and anything external, but we have no deep connection to self,
Right.
that self-awareness, that internal dialogue, that internal voice. We actually value external more than we do, or give ourselves internal time. Um, and that's where we are today. And so I realized when I spoke at a manifestation workshop earlier this year that it's not just people that are in business, it's people that are just trying to manage work,
Yeah.
manage life, manage health,
Yeah.
manage family, manage commitments, manage everyday life. But it's like times a gazillion now compared to when we were growing up,
Yeah, absolutely.
because there's this underlining keeping up with the Kardashians kind of aspect that we all
Oh,
have now.
and it's so
So
debilitating. It is so debilitating because you don't even know, like, I don't know if you catch yourself or if you've ever done it, but transparency here for me, like I know when I'm going down that rabbit hole, and I've gotten better at catching myself now as I've gotten older, but it's still, how dare you go down that rabbit hole? How dare you do this? Like, how dare you feel this way? Like, that that's just smoke and mirrors, but it's just, there's something about that, like you said, the Kardashian, and it's not about looking at their lives, but it's just what they've portrayed and how other people tend to mimic that sort of social media existence. I think
correct.
we've all
Yeah,
been caught in the crosshairs of that, and it's really quite challenging if you don't pick it up, if you don't notice it, isn't it? It becomes like a, oh,
it is. It
yeah,
is. I think becoming a mum and going through the journey of having a baby be in NICU for 4 months before we were able to bring her home, breastfeeding, doing all those things, I started to get into a place where I was, just completely a slave to my child in
yeah,
no malice way. But then what happened was I started picking up poor habits. So
mm,
it was, the one meal a day, it was Uber eating, and then becoming addicted to Uber eating. It was, watching the Kardashians. All of a sudden, I'm saying to my partner, I think I need to get my nose done. I've never looked at myself and
wow,
thought that I need plastic surgery. And then I reflected and realized, hang on a second, I've been watching the Kardashians and I love watching them because I'm like, wow, they're so perfect and it's so glamorous. And you start like dreaming, what would life be
yeah,
like that? And then you start to take the steps back to go, well, actually, it is pretty yucky.
yeah.
There are some elements there that, you literally have to sell your soul to the
Exactly,
devil. That's the
exactly,
reality. The reality.
yeah,
So if you're not willing to do that, then take some steps back to understand, what am I willing to do?
yeah.
And then that's what I did. I started coaching myself the same way that I would coach my clients.
Mm.
I started coaching myself. And through the process, I was 100, between like 100 and I was 130 kilos. I ended up dropping weight significantly, and implementing different lifestyle choices. And then also through that process of fitness and health, I realized that I was completely disconnected from myself.
Yeah.
Like constantly, whenever it came to making a decision, my whole entire life, I would never know how to answer the question. I would always have to ask my sister, ask my dad, ask my mom, ask whoever was in my life or my friends before making a decision, even though what they said was not what I felt in my gut, but I valued their external more than my internal. So then I started asking myself more questions. And it was so interesting because I used to get so annoyed when people would ask me questions. Like when you're in, like I have a coach, and my coach would ask me these questions. I'd present him something and he'd ask me a question. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's with the fucking questions, bro? Like, seriously, I'm coming to you, I'm asking you, and
I know.
now you're asking
Are
me
you
a fucking
asking
question.
me?
And now all I do is ask more questions, which is hilarious to me, seeing as I used to get so triggered by that.
I
So yeah,
Oh wow. Well, you know what? It is a sign of growth when we start to, accept the things that were probably really, really triggering for us, in our younger selves. And it is, motherhood has a huge part in that. I always say if you're not if you feel like you're not doing enough, you're probably doing too much, because it's usually the
yeah,
people who question, am I doing enough? We're nearly always run off our feet. I always say I don't know whether to scratch my watch or wind my butt at the end of the day, but I don't think I'd want it any other way, because I it's this is the time now where, and obviously your little one is she's little, so she's got so many amazing milestones ahead of her, and you're going to find different versions of Missy, coming out of the rear that you didn't even know existed. But that's the beauty of mother.
yeah.
It allows you to it reintroduces yourself to yourself all the time, and how do you better that person? So um it's a gift that keeps giving, and even though sometimes you're like, enough, I can never have enough. So I'll always dive in, and the next. So what do you need? Let's do another activity, because we're only just running on empty, but I can add it until midnight. I've got you. Like, it's all this kind of stuff. But the importance too is also realizing and recognizing self-care, and listening to.
Prioritizing it.
That's it. Absolutely. So what is your self-care? Because you've obviously now just mentioned you've lost such an impressive amount of weight. You've many lifestyle changes, also that internal sort of messaging to yourself. We've got all that. So what's the self-care regime look like for you, especially now with the consulting?
Okay, so for me, it is a lighting of a candle and praying in the morning. So I go on different routines, like so rituals, that's what I like to call it. So in the morning, it's lighting a candle, doing affirmations, and setting an intention for the day. Am I consistent with it? No. Because
It's not.
because it's really challenging with a toddlersaurus. To just like for example, last night she ended up taking, 4 hours to go to bed rather than 20 minutes. So then that took into my time. And I'm still in my journey, and that's another point of self-care, recognizing without punishing. So what I would do would punish myself in order to say, "Oh, you didn't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't stick to your routine. You didn't do that." And so last night, for instance, what I did say was, "Okay, so at nighttime I have a cacao, like I make a hot cacao, and I take my magnesium because it's really important to make sure that you supplement, especially as you get older, vitamin D." Healthy fats, magnesium is so important to stress management, cortisol, all of that, right? Um, and so the one thing I could do yesterday in terms of my night ritual was take my magnesium and have my cacao. And I think because actionable things. So instead of focusing on 10,000 steps, going to the gym for 1 hour, having such big block times is really challenging for mums, for women in general. And it actually gets put to the wayside, self-care gets put to the wayside because it's daunting,
Yeah.
right? And then also with the overload of information that we currently go through, it's like, oh, you should do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this, and if you did this, and if you did this, and if you implemented this,
Oh,
and if you just pay $12,000 here.
it's so much. It really is so much. And that's why I was so happy to know that you're in this space, because like I said to you before we hit record, there's a myriad of, coaching spaces and consultants online. You don't only have to open up your Facebook and Instagram, and every other ad is, do you want to change your life? Do you want to work from home? And do you not want to work at all and go to sleep and wake up with $1 million? Like, of course everybody would love to do that, but that's just not happening. So we're in such a scam era, and it's really disappointing because we're going through enough as human beings just trying to survive on this earth with everything that's happening across the globe. There's a lot of sadness. So coaching is I get it. Some people need a lot more help than just taking a quiet night in with a book, right? So what makes inspired consulting the one that somebody would go, I need some support, I need some help, I need some strategy. What's your point of difference with inspired consulting?
Getting to the core of things. So the point of difference is using intuition. So
Okay.
there's an intuitive approach towards my transformational guidance. And the reason why I say that is I can actually connect if people allow me to speak, because I'm going to connect regardless of whether or not you allow me. Unfortunately, that's just how um,
Have we met?
magnificent it has been. Yeah. And so I just tap into it, and all of a sudden it's just like I'm either speaking to your guides, your ancestors, your something, someone that's past, someone that's here. But it's all vibrational. We are electrical beings, and how we actually communicate with each other is through electricity and that vibration. And the more I've grown into myself, the more connected I am to those cablings and
Yes.
those wires. So that's the I guess the difference with me. It's also very customizable. So a lot of coaching that is happening in this space is a very network marketing approach. So it's very come on board, grow your team, cookie cutter approach. So come on board, you buy in, and then you do the same in order to gain um, monetary gain. But at the top of that food chain, someone else is making more money. It's not, my driver is not money. My driver is getting to the core of it, because we're going to continue to make these mistakes unless we deal with what's going on internally. So if we can say, for instance, let's use the comment that you made about scammers, right? We are in an era where it's easily we're accessible to scammers and being scammed. But now, if we take the control back, then it is our we need to do the due diligence in order to navigate how we're going to be able to recognize that that's a scam, and recognize that this is not ideal for us. And the only way that we can do that is by making sure that our internal voice is louder than the external, because the external is just filling a void and filling a gap that you yourself can actually be filling, but you don't put value in yourself. You prioritize or put value in external. So it's just taking it back in, understanding what's going on. What are my limiting beliefs? I know what I want to achieve from a mental perspective. I know I can achieve it. I know I do deserve it, but I'm self-sabotaging. Why? How? What's really going on? So getting in there and also working together holistically. So it's not just about, you know, taking my guidance and let's roll with this. It's about who are your, I think if we take it to it takes a village to raise a kid. It also takes a village and a community to thrive within.
Yeah.
That's who we are as human beings. So having your, say for instance, if we look at it from you're in hospital, you have a pain management team, or you have a medical team. So why can't we do that for life?
Yeah.
So who are my advisors? Not your friend that's a drop
Yeah.
kick that hasn't got any of the things to show for, but has a bigger voice to say, oh, you're not doing the right thing, and you could be doing this, and you could be doing better. We don't want to take his advice. We want to take advice from people that have the results that we want and
Yeah.
that we have. And that's another reason why I wanted to go back and do the work on myself, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I didn't want to be in that stage where I'm telling you what to do and I can't connect with you, because I'm a very authentic person, which you have already mentioned. And I wouldn't be able to be supportive and support you or my clients or anyone, right? If I wasn't true to myself
Yeah.
and if I didn't do the work already.
Yeah. And
So I
it's
guess that's the point of
accountability.
difference.
It's
Yeah.
accountability. and it's agency over our own lives. And at some point, when you get to this age group, even, motherhood, I mean, look, that can happen at any stage, young mums, older mums, even if you're not a mother and you're just a mature woman navigating life and the world today, we all have we all owe it to ourselves to be accountable for our lives. And I think that's where the beauty of coaching comes into it, is allowing people, maybe they've gone through life not taking too much account for things that they've done, but blaming everyone for, oh, but this has happened and this, that, and the third. Um, and I just think it's the age of agency as well. We gotta just take control of our lives, because if we don't, we're going to be at the mercy of everything that is happening, and we can't be. You just can't. It's
No,
not worth it.
you can't.
It's not worth
No. And so, yeah, it's really not, honestly, you end up wasting so much time, right? You end up going into the rabbit hole of scrolling and trying to fix a problem, but you're just literally scrolling. You're not applying anything. And then you've approached like you've connected, and then someone calls you back the next day and you're like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah,
Well, how are you going to help me? I don't even remember putting my details here. I just wanted to read the free shit that you had available.
absolutely. Oh, and I
So
hate it
again, we're still
when
avoiding.
don't ask for money. I
Yeah,
don't want to talk to you. I don't no, I don't even talk to my own people, like let alone a stranger. So just do not just email me if you need if you have something to reach out to. I know I really despise that about these online things. So, it's a very slippery slope. But I think done
it
correctly
is.
and with the pure intention, which I know Inspired Consulting is all about, um, your clients will come out a better version of themselves that when they went in. And I'm sure that you've got other results that you wish to achieve for them. But what's your ideal client look like? What's somebody that would come to you look like, need?
Okay. Someone that's ready someone that's willing to be uncomfortable
Mm,
in the process of change.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Because I can navigate and help you through all of that. But if you're not willing, then one, you're not going to see the results. So you're going to be demotivated. And then two, you're going to get bitter. And then three, you're actually going to continue to be stuck. But if you're just willing, you'll see results with just one appointment with me.
yeah. That's
And I say that from that's actually what clients have said.
wow.
And that's what's really interesting. That's because I just came from a business perspective. What are my transferable skills? How can I help people grow? What can I do to make money and get a livelihood so that I don't have to go back into the corporate cesspool? That was the simple motivator. And now my motivation is I don't want people to be burnt out. I don't want people to be struggling and feel so disconnected, suicidal, depressed, and just linger in that. I've been there. I've experienced it all. I
Yeah,
will tell you that now. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel as long as you are willing.
yeah,
Just be open to get uncomfortable and be comfortable in the discomfort. That's all.
yeah, yeah. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do the older you get, right? The older
Um,
you get. Because
yeah.
nobody wants to know that they were wrong for the last 2 decades. You're like, what the fuck was I doing with my time? Well, what had happened was, no, that isn't how I saw it. Do you know what I mean? So you're probably going to be met with a lot of resistance, but you're right. I think once you let the walls down and you know that it's only for your benefit, it's probably going to be a lot easier moving forward from that. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's a simple question. Do you still want to be where you currently are in the next 12 months? No.
mm,
what about 10 years from now? Do you still want to be in the same place you are now, unhappy with whatever it is?
Yeah.
No. Okay. So how do we make that change? You've just got to be willing to say, yes,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's try. Let's try something new. That's it.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. So if people want to get in touch with you, my love, how what's the route to Inspired Consulting?
At the moment, so I'm, as I mentioned, relaunching. So everything's getting developed, including my website. So the best way to get in contact with me is email, which can be found on my Instagram. So inspiredco .au or underscore au, depending on whichever handle. And the same goes for Gmail. So I'll everything's there, LinkedIn and on Missy Kay also. So that's spelled Missckay. So
Beautiful.
on
Make sure
Instagram.
that
Yeah.
I'll pop all of that on the
Thank you.
when our interview goes live, and encourage people to, it's there's no shame in anyone's game to want to learn a little bit more about yourself, maybe shake off some of that dead weight we tend to carry around. We've all got it. We all do. We all have these beliefs and archaic beliefs sometimes. And it's also about conditioning too, cultural conditioning. You and I are both South African women, we come from a very strong, proud culture. But with that, as women, we've also had to carry a lot of probably unwanted mental and psychological weight.
Generational,
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
generational. It's sometimes it's not even you, who you are in your family dynamics, the way that your soul has presented to this world comes in with so much more. It's so interesting. I take my daughter to go see someone, and it's so interesting because I was shocked in our appointment that we just had yesterday, where I felt like, what did I do to my child? And she was like, oh, sorry, it's not even you. It's just the ancestral line. And the same with me. When I went to go see her 2 weeks ago, it was ancestral. It had nothing to do with me. It was everything to do with how our people ended up in South Africa, feeling cold and unvalued. And that's how I came into the world,
Yeah.
cold and unvalued. And then now I realize that I don't need external validation. My validation, I am proud of everything that I continue to achieve every day. And I give myself that validation. I no longer have fights with my partner saying, you need to validate me more, you need to value me more. No, I value myself, and that all comes within me. But I still have to keep at it and keep fueling it
Yeah.
because I've had 30 years of negativity versus like charging up with the positivity, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But we come into this world with other people's shit
Yeah.
and we don't know.
You don't know.
So having that guide to navigate and say, well, actually, this isn't on you. And let's let go of that ego, because the minute you detach from that ego is the minute that you can actually make a shift.
Yeah. And then people have to be comfortable with that conversation too, because then people become very weird when it starts to get celestial. And you know what I mean? Like, it's so there's so many levels to it. Just be open, ladies and gentlemen. I think openness is key to anything where you've got a bit of that self-discovery to happen. But I think it's necessary, and I'm very proud of you. And I'm very excited for the relaunch of Inspired Co. And I think you're going to do and reach many, many great levels and people, and continue to grow yourself, and you're raising a beautiful little girl who I'm sure looks up at you in awe every day. um and that's the main driver. So well done, my love. I'm very, very, very proud, very excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And likewise to you, Miss Hennessy. I just absolutely admire you in every single aspect of your life and all of your different milestones. You never give up, you never stop, and you keep achieving next level, leveling up. And I love it. And I'm always going to be a cheerleader to you. And I'm incredibly proud of you. And thank you for inspiring me.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate it. Even when I don't know how, but thank you. We will just keep swimming. That's all I'm gonna say. I just got to, just like Dory, just got to keep on swimming, and that's all we can do in this life.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your time, my love. And again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out everything that Missy has spoken about, her incredible, the relaunch of her amazing consulting agency, consulting service that she is curating from the soul. And this is not anything you're going to have to, sign up on Instagram with and get bombarded by a lot of
No,
unnecessary
there's no sign-ups, there's no registration, there's no
emails.
contracts. No, that's not how
Yeah.
that's not how we work.
Yeah, we ain't living like that over this side. So,
No,
thank you very much for your time, my love, and thanks for tuning in,
thank
everyone.
you.
Peace and blessings.